Now that we've gone over the 4 common methods of treatment, let's go through the process of inoculating straw. So we have our processed straw. Maybe we did stinky straw, maybe we did lime soak, whatever it may have been. We've got the straw, and now what? So you want to take the straw and pack it into bags. So the first step is to get your spawn. Oyster mushroom is best. One of the best strains that I've used is called Lambert 123, and that's a really good blue oyster strain that fruits at a wide range of temperatures, has really aggressive mycelium, and is a really tasty mushroom. So all around a good strain. Now, strain selection is really important when you're looking at any method of cultivation, and should really be step 1: sourcing spawn and strain. Now we have our substrate, we've got our spawn, time to inoculate. So we want to inoculate at a 5 to 20% spawn rate, and this is compared to dry substrate. So if we have 50 pounds of dry straw, we want to be using anywhere from 5 to about 20, maybe 15 pounds of spawn. Now 5 pounds for 50 pounds of substrate is pretty good. I think most of the time you can get away with that. If you're doing it for the first time, it's nice to use that 20% ratio and make sure that you have success. Because after all, when you're starting a new thing, it's really helpful to have success the first couple of times. So what we do is we take this can happen either in buckets or in tubing, so like 8-inch or 10-inch tubing, and just layer the spawn in between handfuls of straw. So it's kind of like on a lot of these processes, you'll notice that we're just layering straw in between the substrate, or layering spawn in between the substrate. And that's exactly what we do in this process. So we take a couple handfuls of straw, pack it into the bags, sprinkle a little bit of spawn on top, and then put on more straw. After the whole bag is packed, we'll poke a couple of holes in the bag, and voila, ready to go. So this is what a typical setup looks like for us. We've got the straw, which has been soaked and then drained, drip dry. And then we've got some jars of mycelium. That's the spawn that we grew out. And then these plastic bags that we're growing the mushroom mycelium in. So we'll pack those bags in and really kind of push down. You'll see back here in this picture, the guy in the back is really pushing down to compress the straw. So you want to make sure that the straw is really firmly compressed, and the mushroom mycelium doesn't have to grow through these large gaps in order to fully colonize the straw. And so we're just sprinkling some of this grain spawn into each layer of the straw and continuing to build up a large tube to grow in. And the mycelium will grow throughout all the straw in about 3 weeks. So it's a pretty fast process in incubation. And there's no need to be sterile in this sort of process. You just want to be clean. So using a clean surface, and maybe just washing your hands and having some clean clothes on before you start. And again, you see here the process where we've got the straw laid out and the little bag of spawn here in the middle. This is a spawn of oyster called Chief Niwat, which is a pretty low temperature fruiting mushroom. So pretty good for spring cultivation. And again, you'll see the person in the back is really pushing down, using his fists to push down and condense the straw. And then the person in the front there has made his little bag and is good to go. Now this is a farm that I visited out in California called Simply Manna Farm, and they did oyster cultivation on lime treated straw and made these huge 60 to 80 pound strausages. That's kind of a great term for them, strausage, because right, they look like huge sausages made out of straw. So they would inoculate these big strausages, and the mycelium would grow out, and then they move them into a separate room for fruiting. Now the incubation phase, this is the incubation phase, and it can happen, doesn't really need to be anywhere special for this. Ideally the temperature would be between 70 to 75 degrees. And it can happen in the dark or in light, either one's fine. And then when the mushrooms are ready for fruiting, move them into fruiting conditions, which we'll talk about in the next unit.